Kate's back, everybody. Or is she? So last week, Kate was spotted at Windsor Castle meeting a young photographer and cancer patient. I know many will see this as an act of compassion and goodwill, but something just didn't sit right with me. Now tell me, is it just me, or does Kate seem, what's the word, detached? It's almost as if someone had to twist her arm to get her to show up. The mixed signals about her work status are becoming impossible to ignore. The whispers are getting louder. Oh, they'd like you to think that they're tuning out the noise and being aloof. But make no mistake, folks, they are listening. And of course, the mainstream press swooped in with their predictable praise fest. Read any article in the mainstream press and you could easily replace Kate with Mother Teresa. I mean, they practically photoshopped a halo around her head. And we all know how much they love their Photoshop. Both the British and the international press seem coordinated in singing their praises and villainizing the Sussexes. And it's working for some. People actually believe these nonsense stories about Harry supposedly wanting to leave Meghan and come crawling back. To what exactly? Being the royal court jester or something? We all know this is a family that doesn't take too kindly to spares going off and blazing their own trail. Most families celebrate the successes of all its members, not just the firstborn. But the problem for this family is that their firstborns simply don't have too many accomplishments to talk about. And this is a problem when you've been told all your life that you are special just for being born first. And anyone who challenges this belief must be castigated. So they use the press to exploit the gullibility of a sizable chunk of the public with these constant negative stories about the Sussexes. During medieval times, the monarch would routinely call for the execution of anyone who annoyed them, be it a sibling that was too popular or a spouse that had outlived their usefulness, or anyone else for that matter. Well, nothing's really changed, except now they're assassinating reputations. They weaponize the press to turn the gullible public into a digital mob, ready to attack anyone who dares to outshine them. And make no mistake, this isn't just a PR campaign, it's psychological warfare. The goal is to wear down their targets and maybe even drive them to the brink. But it's not the 90s anymore. Their old tabloid strategies are outdated. I stumbled across an article that confirmed my suspicions that it's William and Camilla spearheading the Anti-Sussex campaign in the media. Why? Because their feelings were hurt by Spare. Really. A few unflattering pages and they're crying foul. That, folks, is the very definition of narcissism. Now, we all know what was said about William and why he is so angry at Harry. Harry revealed a side of William that may not have been previously known to the public. Harry also recounted an incident where William insisted on having him shave his beard before his wedding, at one point even trying to pull rank to get him to comply. The reason? He was not allowed to keep his beard. And as for Camilla, what did Harry say about Camilla to make her so angry? Well, not that much actually. Putting aside the very mundane dynamics of the classic trope of the hated stepmother who broke up his parents' marriage, Harry simply said that he hoped that now that she and Charles were married, she would finally be happy and be less dangerous. This one word, dangerous, was enough to set off Camilla. With just one simple word, Harry threatened to destroy the facade of respectability that she spent so many years building. So Camilla and William found an allyship in their efforts to exact revenge on Harry for sullying their pristine reputations in his book. But what about Kate? What did Harry say about Kate? Well, actually, he speaks very highly of her in his book. He said that she was sweet and that he loved making her laugh. The trouble with Kate, though, began, it seems, whenever he was involved in a serious relationship. Makes you wonder. For a long time, Kate was used to being in the limelight, where she faced little resistance. Then suddenly, she had to share the stage with someone who had not only the fame and the glamour, but a stellar resume to match. And I think it was all a bit too much for Kate. The press, of course, saw a golden opportunity to create a rivalry. And the thing is, Kate was doing okay. All she had to do was ignore the pressure by the press to compete with Meghan. But I think William needed her to be another one of his proxies in the battle for popularity against his brother. And I think the pressure got to her. There was a time when Kate seemed to be exercising some autonomy and her popularity was soaring, and that meant she had to be put back in her place. In Harry's book, he mentioned that when it started to become apparent that Meghan was, let's say, a little too competent, that there would be trouble. He says to her, "You're doing the job too well. They will get jealous."
In those very early days of Meghan and Harry, Meghan got an incredible reception from the public, both at home and abroad. She was literally, if Diana had been a breath of fresh air, you can multiply that by 2 for Meghan for all sorts of reasons. She was seen as a very, very exciting future royal. Well, she was a current royal, but, representing the future of the royal family. The problem with Harry and Meghan's tour of Australia, as far as they were concerned, was that it was a massive success. When they got back, and as far as palace officials were concerned, hey, it's another royal tour. You did fine. You did a good job. It's what expected of you. All they got was resentment. Meghan wasn't praised for being so popular. The palace machine began actually to resent her. So
And sure enough, after they returned from their Australia tour, the daggers were out, and eventually they saw no other option but to escape. But Harry and Meghan did a very dangerous thing by escaping. They planted a seed in Kate's mind, the idea of freedom. You see, Kate wants out. She keeps trying to tell you people in every which way till Sunday that she is done. But the palace won't let her go. They're dangling the carrot of financial security in front of her face. And unfortunately, Kate, like so many women, choose mediocrity over a life of true fulfillment. She wants that Sussex-style freedom, but she's too scared of the media scrutiny that will follow her. One of the reasons why Spare has been such a huge success is because Harry laid it all out. He talked about the things he was deeply ashamed of. He didn't just try to make himself out to be some heroic figure. Now imagine if Kate wrote a memoir like Spare. she'd probably make a lot of money. But more importantly, people might actually relate to her. But Kate, nah, she's too busy keeping up appearances. She doesn't believe in herself enough to strike out on her own. So she stays in this soul-sucking marriage for the sake of comfort. And folks, the comfort zone is the most dangerous place to be. Because in order to have true freedom, you have to risk failure. And Kate is too scared of that. So she thinks she can do the 1 foot in, 1 foot out approach. But it doesn't work that way. If she's truly to have her freedom, she has to be all the way out. But she's too afraid to make that leap. Kate lacks the confidence to strike out on her own. But she can't directly announce that she quit. Imagine walking away from a job that you hate, only to be called back every time they need a photo op. And honestly, I would have more respect for Kate if she just stuck to her decision to be done with them. And whenever they demand an appearance from her, she would just pay them dust. They can't now throw her to the wolves after building her up to be a saint. People are going to ask, what happened? Why the 180? What are they hiding? But imagine if the public ever finds out that it was all a big lie. They would never live that down. And they know it. So they tried to ease out of it somehow with the cancer-free video, but instead there was a backlash, and they weren't expecting that response. Take a look at this article from In Touch. Princess Kate Middleton has been hit with criticism for her loved-up video announcing the end of her chemo treatments. Kate's someone who does take the public perception very seriously. She works so hard never to put a foot wrong, and that's why she's usually so universally praised. She doesn't take it for granted and appreciates it, but she's also gotten used to being one of the favorite members of the family as far as the public and press are concerned. The whole incident with her fake photo scandal earlier this year was a nightmare for her, and it came at such a hard time in her life when she wasn't well and hadn't shared the news. The insider adds, she admitted it was a mistake, that she never should have used Photoshop, and took responsibility. But this time, she doesn't feel she deserves the criticism. She's genuinely stunned that people are trying to tear her down when she was so authentic and raw. And she's now retreating and reconsidering her stance on being so open going forward. Okay. Now, this article tries to tiptoe around the root cause of the public's mistrust. Nobody wants to admit it in the mainstream press that the public has doubts about the cancer story. Even some loyal members of the Royal Rota were like, nope, here's where we draw the line. So William and Kate are stuck with this cancer story like an albatross around their necks. You know the saying, what a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive. Now, everything they do has to be a performance in support of the big lie. Take a look at this article about William's excuse for not going to the Olympics. No, I was so keen to come, but I have to say, after reading someone's interview about COVID, I decided, because my wife was obviously having chemo, that I didn't want to risk bringing COVID home. That's funny. Kate wasn't too worried about COVID when she went to Wimbledon this year. It's almost like he just now thought of using that excuse. And Kate can no longer be free to go to all the places she wants to without making excuses for why she can't work. That's why one day there's a story that she's perfectly fine, and the next she's battling for her life. Kate is forever trapped in a lie she either built around herself or allowed others to coerce her into building. It's a delicate house of cards, folks. One wrong move and it all comes tumbling down. But until then, they'll keep playing this game, manipulating the media, feeding the public half-truths, and keeping Kate on a leash. And finally, to all the Harry and Meghan haters who troll my channel. First of all, thanks for the views. But here's something for you to ponder. I have just 2 questions for you. The first question is, why does just about every story about William and Kate have to mention either Harry and Meghan or just Harry or just Meghan or whatever permutation they can come up with? Why do they feel the need to mention them in every article about William and Kate? If the Waleses are so perfect, why can't they stand on their own? I keep seeing comments from people saying things like, "Oh, I'm so tired of Harry and Meghan. I just wish they'd go away." Fine, then tell the mainstream press to stop talking about them. And for the second question, I really wish a member of the mainstream press could answer this. And it's a serious question. Now, given Kate's high profile, what exactly has Kate done to deserve all this praise? And I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just asking what for me is a glaringly obvious question that I know is on the minds of a lot of people. Seriously, what has she done? She hasn't led any cancer fundraisers. She hasn't hosted any charity events. She hasn't promoted any cancer screenings. She didn't even thank any medical professionals in her video. And let's not forget, this is the same woman who disappeared for 6 months with no explanation. And yet we're expected to believe every puff piece about how brave and wonderful she is. It's beyond over the top, and the silent majority isn't buying it. These puff pieces, all filled with the same trite, superficial reportage, just undermines real journalism and only engenders more cynicism. And look, folks, when I first started this channel, I really believed that something terrible had happened to her, and that because she's married into a powerful family, that we would never learn the truth. And that alarmed me. But all the rumors and suspicions that followed her disappearance could have been avoided if they were just candid and truthful from the very beginning, instead of diminishing themselves with their obsession for secrecy. That's why, unfortunately for William and Kate, they will never have the trust of the public. So William and Kate are stuck with each other for now. Nobody can ever find out the truth because the public will never forgive that. So they keep digging a deeper and deeper hole, and soon they'll be buried under the weight of their own lies.